Hi students, today I will discuss metaphysical poetry. The pioneer of metaphysical poetry is John Donne, and he was writing during the 17th century. And his poetry and the poetry of his followers are called metaphysical poetry. So, John Donne was not conventional poet. During the 17th century, he wrote in such a way that is not conventional. In a poem of John Donne, you can find a lot of amount of drama that was quite unconventional on those days. You can find a speaker and a listener and a dramatic situation. The beginning of the poems of John Donne is quite abrupt, and John Donne used the colloquial languages in his poetry. Actually, we know the language of poetry is quite ornamental, quite heavy. But John Donne wrote in a colloquial, simple language, the language in which we speak. And the comparison is also not conventional. It is totally different from all other poets. Such as he compares the beloved with a typewriter. So it is very confusing before the reader how a beloved can be compared to a typewriter. But if we concentrate on the comparison, we can find that as the typewriter makes noisy sound, similarly the beloved is quite noisy, quite irritating. That's why he compares beloved to the typewriter. But this type of comparison was not common on those days. For these reasons, John Donne was misunderstood in his own age, and he was totally discarded. He was discarded, and his poetry was totally discarded. He was not considered as a poet during the 17th century, and even his poetry was not considered as poetry on those days. So this is the whole history of metaphysical poetry. Now the question is, why John Donne is called metaphysical, or the why John Donne's poetry is called metaphysical. Actually, John Dryden first used the term metaphysics in the context of John Donne's poetry. He said about John Donne that Donne affects metaphysics. Donne affects metaphysics. Now, what is the metaphysics? Metaphysics is a subject that deals with something beyond our physical reality or physical nature. The Latin word meta means beyond, and physics means physical nature or the physical world. So metaphysics is such a subject which deals with something that is beyond our natural world. But Donne's poetry is religious and also love poems. Mainly Donne's poetry is love poems and also of religion. So love and religion both are the natural phenomena. Phenomena, love happens in this natural world, and religion, it is also regarding our life. It is also regarding the our life in this physical world. So how can we call Donne's poetry a metaphysical? If we consider the true sense of the term metaphysics, we cannot call the poetry of John Donne metaphysical, because there is nothing that we can call beyond our physical nature in Donne's poetry. Yet Donne's poetry is called metaphysical by John Dryden. Actually, what happened, John Dryden tried to humiliate him, tried to humiliate him, and the term was quite derogatory. John Donne was misunderstood in his age because he was ahead of time. His poetry was understood in 20th century. He was writing during the 17th century, but his poetry was understood in 20th century. So that type of label had been attached to Donne's poetry because Donne was not understood on those days. That's why he was humiliated. Actually, the term is misnomer. Misnomer. That means wrongly applied. If we consider the true sense of the term metaphysics is misnomer. That means wrongly applied to the poetry of John Donne. But as it becomes a practice from those days, from the time of John Dryden, so it becomes very common to say the poetry of Donne as a metaphysical poetry. Now, during the 18th century, Dr. Samuel Johnson again criticized Donne's poetry in a humiliating term. He said, that means Dr. Johnson said, that in the poetry of Donne, heterogeneous ideas are yoked by violence. Heterogeneous, that means not same. Homogeneous means same. Heterogeneous, that means different type of or opposite things, different things, opposite things or different objects are juxtaposed. Yoked means placed together by violence, means by force. It was not natural. He says about the comparison of a comparison in the poetry of John Donne. So from that time it becomes a common practice to say metaphysics to the poetry of John Donne. Now, during the 20th century, T.S. Eliot discovered modernity in the poetry of Donne, and T.S. Eliot praised Donne. And by T.S. Eliot, Donne is given the position of a poet. And during from the 20th century, Donne has been considered as a great poet of English literature. So this is the history of metaphysical poetry. T.S. Eliot said that Donne's poetry is the fusion of intellect and emotion. Donne's poetry is not only of emotion or not only of intellect. There you can find intellect and also emotion. So this is the Donne's poetry. Donne's poetry is very great, and Donne's poetry was anti-conventional during the 17th century. That's why he was misunderstood. He was not considered as a poet, and his poetry was not considered as poetry. And in a humiliating way, in a derogatory way, his poetry was labeled as metaphysical. But if we consider the true, true sense of the term metaphysical, we cannot call the poetry of John Donne as metaphysical, because there is nothing which we can call beyond our physical reality, because Donne's poetry is is about love and religion, and both are physical phenomena, natural phenomena. It is not something that happens beyond our physical world or physical nature. So this is all about metaphysical poetry. It can help the students of English Honors and English MA, and also those who are preparing for NET, SLATE or any competitive exam. You can call me and you can join my class. My class is in Durgapur, West Bengal. The address of my class is 6 by 5 Sepco Township, Durgapur 5. That means street number 6, house number 5, Sepco Township, Durgapur 5, West Bengal. You can call me. My phone number is 7602167717. Again, my phone number is 7602167717. Goodbye.